Our next storyteller is Maryland-made, TV-raised filmmaker and actor Kar Logan, with passion for not only thinking outside the box, but dismantling it. As a first-generation Sierra Leonean who grew up in the DMV, he was surrounded by art and culture that shaped his outlook on life. Those experiences continue to guide his creative work today, inspiring him to offer new perspectives and reimagine the way stories are told. His story, titled Off the Chain, shares how to be on set for his hit HBO show gave him a glimpse into what life as a Black actor could really look like, both the highs and the challenges. That experience changed how he saw his future and set him on a new path. Please welcome Kar Logan.
Gather around, ladies and gentlemen, and listen to the story of how I got inspired to become the filmmaker that I am today. It's a tale of perseverance, dedication, and racism. Because let's be honest, racism is in everything. The year is 2014. Android users were finally getting used to Instagram. A third night at the museum was released, unbeknownst to everyone. And Nicki Minaj dropped the pink print. It is true, I used to be a barb. But more importantly that year, I was entering my second phase in the pursuit of acting. Now, when I came from Prince George's County, Maryland, New York, I was well aware that my journey wasn't gonna be the easiest. Acting roles for guys with a face like mine were very limited. And no, I don't mean handsome men, I mean Black handsome men. So, it's true. Blackish wasn't out yet. And we were still fighting for what exactly representation meant. Sure, I was represented when, they needed background extras and stuff. Sure, I saw myself in, Black guy with a fade, number 5. But as you can imagine, that wasn't enough. Still, I didn't let that deter me. I just kept on keeping on, just hoping for the day that someone would discover me in the background. So one day, I applied to a casting call for a popular HBO show by the name of Boardwalk Empire. They needed a specific type of person for a specific type of role. That's right, you guessed it, they needed Black people. So I applied and I heard back. I got cast as background for Boardwalk Empire, and the back of my head was gonna be featured on primetime HBO. I thought I made it. I arrived on set, I received my outfit. It was a black and white, striped prison outfit. I was a part of a chain gang. And I already knew this coming in, but for the sake of storytelling, I'm gonna act like I was shocked. But regardless, I had a good time. I met some cool people, overheard some interesting conversations. A lot of them sounded like, man, I ain't doing no gay roles. And then I met Michael K. Williams, and I promise that's not a segue. But I saw him and I said, yo, what's up? And he nodded. I took that as get out of my face, but he was super friendly. He was very friendly. Then it was time for me to go shoot the scene. Now, production told us to go ahead and get in the costume. Mind you, I'm sitting there like, am I not in costume already? So I go over to this PA and he's on bended knee like he's about to propose to me and stuff with these silver bracelets in his hand. And by silver bracelets, I mean shackles. So mind you, I was supposed to be a chain gang. So like I said, I saw this coming. So I step up to him and he lets me know that he's about to put them on my ankles. And I'm expecting some lightweight styrofoam stuff, something for me to maneuver around in, you know what I mean? But then I heard this very interesting noise that went clink, clink. And I just felt like this rusted weight on my ankle. And I look at it and I say, yo, PA, these shackles feel pretty real. And he goes, yeah, they are. Sorry, we don't make fake shackles. I'm like, so you guys make real shackles? What is going on here? Mind you, Game of Thrones is in its 4th season. So I have seen them create dragons that could breathe fire out of their butts. And ice zombies raised from the ground, but they can't make fake shackles. Okay, got it. All right, whatever. So, it was just on my mind all day because it was a 14-hour shoot day. So it was 14 hours, yes, 14 hours of me running around with shackles on my ankles being chased by a white guy with what I hope was a fake shotgun. When the day was over, I knew that I had to change something because I was afraid that could be my future in acting. So I'm in New York now, trying to find my way, and I get hooked on Awkward Black Girl and Black and Sexy TV. There was this wide array of unique, clever and original stories, but what drew me most of them was that the fact that they weren't shows backed by major studios. They were made by people who had an idea and wanted to see themselves how they saw themselves, and I wanted in. I knew I could write and I knew I could act. So now I just need to know how to make my own. So I got my start as a writer and producer on the web series Situationships, which was later picked up by BET. And I didn't stop there, thank you very much. I went on to creating, writing, and starring in the companion series Wingmen, which now streaming on Tubi and Quelly TV. You can watch that as well. I filmed my own murder mystery short film, Five Knives, and then I did a female-led superhero short film, Damsels, which debuted in Afropunk. And then more recently, I was given the opportunity to join the writing staff of The Psychological Evolution of F-Boys on Keke Palmer's Key TV network. So, I don't know, it's funny because I started creating my own productions in order to make an actor's reel just so I could give myself something to show off and book roles and stuff, but instead I found an opportunity to flex my skills and sharpen my senses, allowing me to do both, act and produce. Now, it was a huge difference from my life back in Maryland because I wasn't doing nothing. And I could say that I was finally proud of myself. And the one day that I felt that all that I had learned really came to fruition and really paid off was then one day, fast forward, I'm sitting in a sports bar with my friends and we're working on the second season of my show, Wingmen. And then I look over to the table next to me and you guys know who I saw? Michael K. Williams. He's sitting at the table right next to me. Now, this is the first time I saw him since I was cosplaying as Eddie Murphy in Life. So I didn't think that he was gonna recognize me. But I approached him anyway and I introduced myself, telling him about the day we were all in the woods. He goes, whoa, wait. I remember you, we was running and we fell in the mud. Hey, what's up, man? I was shocked. You know what I mean? I lit up and I told him how we're writing the second season of my show. And then he lit up. He told me, oh yeah, take my number down. Please, I'd love to work with you. I told him that I wanted him to play the role of my father in the show. So I'm writing and I'm working and I text him. Sometimes he'd respond. Other times he'd leave me on red. Other times he'd be like, who is this again? But it's all good. But then fast forward to the tragic day that Michael K. Williams passed. The acting world was shook. Baltimore put the guns down for a couple of hours. I thought about this passionate actor that I grew to love from watching his work, from The Wire to Lovecraft Country. And I thought about how the same day that I met him was the same day that I decided to embark on the path that I'm currently on right now. And then all I could think about in that moment was, damn, who is gonna play my father in my show now? Thank you all.